It all started like any other normal day in the school holidays, but ended in pure horror and tragedy. 3 innocent young girls killed in a frenzied knife attack left families devastated, and a nation in shock, and a country in mourning.
I couldn't stop hugging it. I slept in a bed last night next to it. I couldn't stop staring at it, because you expect your children to be safe.
And as people came to terms with the horrific events, disinformation spread and tensions erupted on the streets. The accused is a teenager, a monster, who cares nothing for others. In this video I'm going to tell you much more than the mainstream media is allowed, including where and what Axel Rudakubana is doing now. The seaside town of Southport in England is known for its bright sandy beaches and its charming pier, but on the 29th of July in the year of 2024, this peaceful town was completely shattered. A horrific act of violence at the Southport dance and yoga workout shocked the nation and left the community grappling with sadness and grief, and so many unanswered questions. On that summer's day, a group of young girls beaming with excitement gathered at a Taylor Swift themed dance class. Among them was little BB King, she was age 6, Elsie, she was age 7, and young Alice, who had just turned age 9.
And now guys, but thank you for watching all my videos. Get this started, and no one knows but look at my eyeshadows.
Their laughter and chatter filled the dance studio with youthful energy, and what should have been an afternoon of joy and carefree fun turned into a scene of total and unimaginable horror. At approximately 11:45 AM, 17-year-old Axel Rudakubana entered the dance studio, armed with a 20-centimetre knife. He then launched into a frenzied attack, stabbing and slashing at innocent children and 2 adult parents. The attack lasted for almost 10 minutes. It was cruel and brutal, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. 3 young lives were tragically cut short that day. BB, Elsie and Alice, all 3 were under the age of 10 and succumbed to their injuries. 8 others, including 2 adults, were also injured, some critically, bearing physical and emotional scars from that horrifying day.
Come now, bring everybody. We want as many ambulances as you can get. I don't know how many girls were left in that building. He was still in there. And I thought, just going to kill them all.
Now, at around 11:50 AM in the morning, a man working on the outside of his house hears children screaming. Now, at first the man thinks, oh, it's just children having fun, you know, kids will be kids. But the screaming didn't stop. And when the man looked across the street to see where the commotion was coming from, to his horror, what he was about to see next would undoubtedly haunt him in his dreams, leaving a lasting impression that would never ever leave him.
Then I seen him start running down the road, and the girl who was leading them all running seen me and just ran straight into my path and put her arms around me, and she said, I've been stabbed, I think I'm dying. So I said, you're not dying, right? Everybody get in here. The noise, the screaming from the kids was horrendous. You could see they were in absolute terror.
Like, can you even imagine the scene that day? 26 terrified young children, and many of them were bloodied up with stab wounds. They were just infants, and already they were being forced to fight for their life. Luckily, however, that 9-year-old girl that ran into the neighbour's house for help, she survived, and so did the group of kids that followed her into that mister's house for safety. They were the lucky ones who survived that tragic day. Meet Axel Rudakubana. Yes, in this image he's just a child, but in this image he's 17 years old. And this photo was taken just weeks before the date of the attack. And by the time the police arrived at the scene, they managed to wrestle the knife away from his hand. Fortunately, no police officers were hurt during the arrest and takedown. And on that same day, a search warrant was executed at Axel's property. And it would be there, in his bedroom, authorities discovered sharp knives and a toxic poison called ricin. Ricin is one of the deadliest poisons out there, simply because it doesn't have any known antidote. The police also found an Al-Qaeda terrorist manual teaching anyone who reads it how to be a more sufficient killer. However, this new information would be kept from the people, along with the killer's true identity and his evil future plans. This would only aggravate many members of the general public. The next day, during a peaceful vigil for the 3 girls who lost their lives, a riot broke out. The unhappy mob soon turned their attention to the police, setting fires, damaging homes and local mosques, and even looting shops. That evening, more than 50 police officers got hurt, including several police dogs. In fact, this civil unrest lasted for at least 9 days, up and down the country. Many mainstream media outlets believe that the country is at boiling point, even to this very day.
With no plans to improve its resilience, Britain is heading for systems collapse.
Want to kill all of us because in the Quran is written, kill everybody. Look at you, look at you, look at you. This is what you have to say.
Axel was born in Wales and grew up with his parents and his older brother in Banks, a shy, quiet town located just 5 minutes' drive away from Southport. Axel was known to police due to his history of criminal charges, including 3 assaults and 1 possession of a deadly weapon with intent. Following that, he was made to attend a terrorist prevention scheme. He also had been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and spent most of his time inside his house. Now, just minutes before he booked his taxi to take him to the dance studio, security cameras catch Axel pacing up and down in front of his house. Was he psyching himself up? It sure looked that way. Now, his trial was set early this year in 2025, to where he pleaded guilty to his crimes. This in turn kept most of his evil plans and influences from the public. In court, he doesn't talk when asked to state his age and name. He just kept his eyes focused on the floor in front of him. However, when Axel was supposed to be quiet and paying attention to what the judge was saying, Axel would start shouting out all kinds of insanities, including insults and foul language. His behaviour and attitude was completely unacceptable, leading to Axel being escorted out of the courtroom. And although he was given a second chance to attend his sentencing, he refused to leave his prison cell. However, his ignorant behaviour didn't deter the judge from passing the sentence.
This is my sentence for Axel Rudakubana. I was required to have him removed from court, not because that is what he wanted, but he was preventing the hearing from being held in the normal way. On the 29th of July last year, Rudakubana left home and travelled by taxi to the Hart Space in Hart Street, Southport. On counts 1 to 3 murder, I sentence him to custody for life with a minimum term which he must serve in custody of 52 years.
So what is Axel Rudakubana doing now? Well, after doing a little bit of research online, I can tell you that Axel is going through a couple of changes. Axel Rudakubana remains incarcerated at the HMP Belmarsh prison, and as you might expect, all the details are being kept strictly confidential, especially from the media. That was until now. At the moment, the monster is in a segregation unit inside Belmarsh prison, where he will undergo intensive therapy from the healthcare department. The psychologist will gain a clear understanding into his mindset and identify where his needs be suited best, and where he needs to be kept after he's been assessed. Yeah, his needs be suited best. Like that should matter. But to the people at Belmarsh, it does. Ian Huntley was another foul, disgusting individual that was incarcerated at Belmarsh prison. Now, while he was there at the time, he underwent the same evaluation to determine whether he needs to be transferred from prison to a mental hospital. Just for the record, Ian Huntley was not transferred to a hospital. He's spending his days in prison, and rightly so. And now this is where things get a little bit interesting, because Axel Rudakubana last week shaved his hair off and is now currently growing a beard, purely to look more intimidating to other inmates or to disguise himself. Either way, he's decided to change his image. Now obviously, because he's a high-profile criminal and killer, Axel Rudakubana could spend the next 3 years of his life in the isolation unit, and this is for his own safety and being watched over 24/7. A constant watch normally means a perspex glass door with a prison officer sitting outside watching in on him 24/7, and if he tries to end his own life or something like that, those officers are there to make sure he carries out every single single minute of his sentence in safety while in the isolation unit. And when he does get out of isolation and he can circulate with the other inmates, it's not going to be an easy life for him at all. I don't think there's many people in there that appreciate the company of somebody who can easily unend the life of infants. Anyways, after a long assessment, and depending on his suited requirements whilst being incarcerated at Belmarsh, should he be sent to a mental hospital, then his circumstances will change drastically, meaning he'll get more freedom and more opportunities to participate in activities, and he won't be seen as a criminal by the professionals but more as an unwell patient. He'll be surrounded by kind and helpful people who are trained in mental and emotional healthcare. Like, that's where your tax money's going on, ladies and gentlemen. Getting this guy therapy. What a complete and absolute
corn casserole.
It boils my piss, it really does. I have to smile about it, because if I don't, I'll lose my mind. Okay, so this here is me trying to keep it professional, but me personally speaking, I truly hope that the people have an interaction with Axel, see him for what he truly is, a malevolent being, a creature capable of evil that should be never allowed out of prison. Now, in my last video I covered this case in full, from when Axel was born to his infant days and his relationship with friends, his hobbies, his school life, including many factors and upsetting events in his life that could have turned him into a psychotic monster. It's a step-by-step documentary giving you a very clear insight into the mind and life of this awful killer. And should you want to watch that, then click this video right here. And if you like getting all the facts on true crime horror in story format, then please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you like food, and subscribe to the channel if you have ears. And I shall see you again real soon, the next time when evil follows. Bye.